counseling agency. We specialize in helping people take control of their debt.
People call in every day. By the end of the call, they're feeling better. They know there's some hope out there.
For over a decade, Family Credit Management has helped tens of thousands of Americans deal with the burden of debt.
If you're struggling with debt, the most important thing is to take control of it. Now is the time.
Family Credit Management is a...
Hello, and welcome to Family Credit Management's Half Hour. My name is Laura Butler. I'm a certified credit and housing counselor, and I will be talking to you over the next 25 minutes, half an hour, about lots of different things. In particular, really what we're going to be discussing a lot today is about budgets. And I know that typically people don't really like the term budget, so today we're going to call it a spending plan. I think a spending plan is a lot better term. It seems to be that a lot of people prefer not to really think about budgeting, so I'm here to hopefully make it a little bit better, use this time to kind of give you guys some tools and tips, and of course take your questions. So if you have any questions, you want to call in, the number's listed there on the screen. You're welcome to call in with any questions or even comments that you might have. If you've got some interesting tips for budgeting, that would be also a nice thing for me to hear as well. So I'd like to get started. First of all, I'm going to kind of go through something called the top 5. Each week I'm going to try to bring you the top 5 or top best ideas or principles, kind of rules of thumb that I've come up with, and in my experience over the last 12 years working with consumers, trying to just devise different tools and tips. So again, we're starting off today with budgeting. And I'd actually like to challenge everyone over the next 90 days, because we'll be on the air doing this show for the next 3 months. So I think if you use this time to maybe work on a 90-day challenge. I think budget challenges, making small steps in your budget or spending plan is a good thing for you to do. So if you were to maybe take the next 90 days and work through these steps with us, I think that you'll see hopefully in time that things will improve, and you will also be able to improve your lifestyle. So what I'd like to go through first today is the top 5 budget tools. And, these are just kind of, like I said, rules of thumb, just to give you an idea of, things that you can start. So I think that it's important for everyone to start off with having a style. So what do you prefer to do? Number 5 I have down is old-fashioned pen and paper. You can use a notebook or a planner or anything you prefer. This is just getting you started on tracking your expenses. You can, start looking at your expenses on a sheet of paper, and then you can start really just planning on what you can cut back on. Old-fashioned pen and paper for me is something that I love to do. I'm one of those people who loves budgets and like planner tools, and I really like making spending plans for myself and just planning out, just every event in my life. So old-fashioned pen and paper, I think, is something that, anybody can use. It's readily available. It's easy to do. You don't have to pay a whole lot of extra money for it. And it's a great way for you to get started if you've never actually started tracking your expenses. So that would be the first step. After that, there's always tools that are like more technology savvy. So using apps or computer programs that can help streamline tracking expenses is a great way. Again, I use some of these in my own life. So as I'm going through looking at these different things, there are things on here like Mint.com. Mint.com is a very, I would say, comprehensive app budget sort of tool that people use in order for them to track their expenses and it links with your checking accounts, your savings accounts. It makes them all, on one app, so you can kind of see where all of your expenses are going. You can start looking at, where your expenses are being spent. Are you spending too much on groceries? Are you spending too much on gas or maybe dining out, whatever it may be? And Mint does a really great job of doing that. It has graphs and pie charts and all sorts of things where you can really start to see the difference in your budget. One that I prefer to use is something called Money Lover. Money Lover is an excellent app that I sometimes don't like giving out my personal information. Mint is owned by Intuit, which is the tax software people. But Money Lover is, it doesn't link with your checking accounts and your savings accounts. You have to physically put them in. So when you're physically putting those in there, it doesn't really ask for passwords or any sort of personal identifying information. So I prefer to use something along those lines. It does very much the same thing as Mint.com, where you can have different pie charts and graphs to show you what you're spending your money on. You can track where things are going. You can even categorize it yourself. So that's the difference between a more in-depth app like Mint.com and then, of course, Money Lover being one that you can just put the information in. There's QuickBooks. I know that I work with people and myself have used Excel spreadsheets. Excel, if you're good at Excel, or even if you're not good at Excel, you can make it work for however you want. Excel is a pretty easy tool. Even on cell phones these days, they actually have Excel apps, so you can even start tracking your expenses on the go. I think that using a budgeting app or a program or computer is a really great way to streamline your spending plan, and that way you're not losing the information either. When you have something written down, it's a lot easier for you to maybe lose track of it. You might put it in a binder and then you lose the binder, or that information is now floating around and you want to make sure that your personal identifying information is not stolen. So that would be a good thing for you to do. Maybe switch over to something like an app. Another option that we have is something called the 50-30-20 method. So the first two things that I discussed really dealt with tools that you can use. This is an additional type of a tool, but it's not something that is tangible. The 50-30-20 budget method is an easier way for you to start figuring out where you should be spending your expenses. So it lists here keeping expenses for needs, like your mortgage, rent, utilities, at 50% of your net income. That's where the 50 part comes in. Net income, of course, is your income after your all of your expenses for your taxes and your insurance and everything like that's been taken out. Keeping your expenses for your wants, like cable, internet, dining out, at 30% of your income. And then start your savings at 20% of your net income, but don't stop there. So I just want it to be clear that savings is always going to be important. So don't think that you have to stop at 20%. Let's say you keep your needs to a low minimum of 40% and you have an extra 10% you'd like to spend on something. Definitely put it into savings. That's always going to be a good option. This method is something that is a great tool for you to see where you're at. Let's say you tracked all of your expenses, and typically when I'm meeting with a client, what I do is I'll go through their budget. I look at, or their spending plan, and I look at where they've spent the most. So I'll go through and I'll label everything. If their mortgage is there, I label it as a need. Things like food I consider to be needs, but maybe dining out is a want. So I'll go through that and categorize everything. And then I just do a simple calculation. I add up the needs, the wants, and their savings, and then divide it by their income. And I can see kind of where they're at. I might have somebody who comes to me and they're spending 90% of their income on their needs. The reason that's a bad thing is if something was to happen, let's say you had a catastrophe and you lose a job, and you get sick, something like that, and you don't know what to do. Well, 90% of your income is going to your needs and not to your savings or to your wants. at that point, you're going to have a devastated budget. If you don't have any income coming in, let's say your unemployment is half of what you were receiving before, then, making sure that your needs are a little bit lower compared to your income, making sure that they're around 50% instead of 90%, it's going to make it so if you did lose 50% of your income, you still have enough money to be able to pay for your needs. So that is one thing you want to try to work on. This is what you should try to do this week. This is the budget challenge that I'm saying for everybody to start working on. For this, the next 90 days, what you should do is develop your style, figure out what works best for you. Is it the pen and paper? Is it something like, using the app? Start tracking those expenses and then figure out where am I at in the 50-30-20 budget method. Another option, of course, is something that we created, and that is the Personal Finance Made Easy guide. It's a budget guide that can help you set up your goals and provide tools to help you stay on track. And it's a really good first step. I actually teach people the Personal Finance Made Easy. I call it the 6 steps to budgeting. People can come in, sit down, and do a one-on-one session with me where I assign them different parts of the book. They come back to see me, and then we go through those and figure out where they're at, what they're spending, what their goals are. Something like this, where you've got a workbook that kind of tells you step by step what you can and maybe should be changing, to, will help you to start getting on track and really hopefully meet your goals. So I'm going to show the example. This is the Personal Finance Made Easy book. And in the very first section, you'll probably see this a little bit. So I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Maybe? All right. Let it focus. I just wanted to kind of show you the header where it talks about taking a moment to answer some questions. And here it is. This is the self-assessment. So it talks about, you going through this first section and really doing just a self-assessment. Where are you at? What are your goals? What things do you really need to do in order to be where you need to be? And so as we're going along, I know the print's a little bit small. I just kind of want to show you the layout and what it looks like in here. But once you're finished with that, it goes into the spending section. This section tells you to start gathering your bills, getting a pencil, going through and completing the following pages and taking your time. Of course, this is something that's going to be personalized. So you want to make sure that you are taking your time and answering the questions to this based on your particular situation. So again, this is just a broad overview of our guide here, but it does go through setting goals. We have an awesome program called Stop Things Save that tells you when you go to the grocery store, putting things back instead of spending on them. I know Letitia talked a little bit about that before as well. But this goes through and it lays out those things that you'd be putting in a pen and paper type of a budget. So if you want to determine your income, this is an excellent section for that. Listing bank store cards. It actually goes through listing expenses and planning for the future. This is the first section. This is what I would normally do in a face-to-face appointment with somebody, one-on-one. I would sit them down and we would go through and talk about the first section. So it's all about setting goals and making sure that you're really just choosing the things that are right for you and the tools that are right for you. So if you decide that you do want a budget guide like this, you're welcome to give Family Credit Management a call. Our number to reach us is 1-800-994-3328. Our counselors are there until 7 p.m. this evening, so you're welcome to give them a call, or you can even, go to our website. We have online tools for this as well. Our website is www.familycredit.org. If you go to that website, there's an online version of the Personal Finance Made Easy guide. So if you feel like you don't want a big bulky book, or if you don't want to give us a call, you can just go on that site and then download it, and you can go through and print out any page that you would like. It's completely personalized for you. So The very last point that I have, and this is kind of I think a no-brainer, but you can do a combination. Budgeting is personal. You get to choose what works for you. I think that that's the most important thing. I have been doing, credit counseling for 12 years, and I have changed my mind on how I enjoy doing credit counseling and budget counseling numerous times. So there had been times in my life where I decided that, everything is going to be in a binder. I would carry my binder around with me. It was big and bulky, but I was proud of it because I'm really good at tracking expenses, and I like teaching people on how to track their expenses. So that would be something that I would do for a while, and then life happens. I don't want to carry around a giant binder all the time. So what I would do is I would switch over and do something, especially as technology's been getting better with the cell phones and the smart tablets and all that kind of stuff. I would start using my apps. And again, I have used Mint. I've used Money Lover. There's a bunch of other ones that are out there that you can just use as maybe like a note keeper. I know Evernote is a good app to use also because it has it's like a note-taking app, so you can keep track of expenses on it if you'd like. You can take pictures of your receipts and keep them in there. Let's say that you're one of those people who doesn't like to write things down. Maybe you don't like planning. Maybe you don't like using an app, but you do want to keep your receipts. I have plenty of clients that I meet that prefer to just do an envelope where they have all of their receipts in it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is the most important thing that you can take away is just because you have one style and I'm telling you a different way doesn't necessarily mean that it's the wrong thing. I really just hope that you're able to get some information from this and say, you know what? I never thought of that before. Maybe a budget binder is the best way to go. Maybe I'll try it out for a little while. But that's the most important thing is just trying to figure it out. Like I said, notes like Evernote, OneNote, those are all really good websites. Microsoft is the one that owns OneNote. They are ways that you can take pictures of your receipts if you don't want to carry around an envelope. Another thing you can do is sometimes your bank will allow you to be able to, I know my bank does this, actually has in my transaction history, it will show you where you've spent your money on. And you can actually track and show, like let's say I've spent too much on gas this month and I didn't realize that I was going to be spending that much. Or, maybe I spent a lot on my grocery budget. There's so many different tools out there that it's important, I think, for everybody to really just develop their style. And so if you're looking at these kind of things, if you have questions on them, you're welcome to give me a call. I can give you tons of different resources and information. And you can call me at our 800 number if you'd like, or you can call the number now if you have some questions. But 1-800-994-3328 is my phone number to reach me. You can always call. My name is Laura. I'd be happy to give you a list of different apps. And actually, I think that's going to be one of the topics that we'll be discussing a little bit later is additional tools that you can use for budgeting and credit reporting and different things of that nature. So that is really what we want you to focus on this week is making it personal, choosing what works for you. And once you've got that sort of mindset that you want to do this, there's a reason that you want to make that change. There's going to be, next week, I'm going to be talking a lot about SMART goals and setting goals for yourself and why would you want to set a goal? Because, budget counseling means nothing unless you have a goal. There's no reason to track expenses unless you have a goal. And the goal can be something as simple as maybe you just want to save up some extra money for like a small little vacation trip. It could be something big, like a life, change. Maybe you're going to be retiring soon. So, you want to make sure that you've got these tools in place in order for you to be able to reach those goals. And that, I think, is one of the most important things is setting goals. So, again, we're going to be going through the next few weeks here talking about budget counseling, different tools to do that, ways to set up for your goals. And along the way, we're going to be talking about credit. fixing your credit, how to, have the best credit out there. I know Letitia last week talked a lot about that as well. And I think that, as a budget and credit counselor, there are no questions that we haven't heard, but there are also millions of questions out there that I think that people maybe are afraid to ask. So if you are one of those people who maybe doesn't want to call in, they don't want their voice over, TV or something like that, you're always welcome to give us a call or go to our website. Again, there's a lot of tools and information on there, and that website is www.familycredit.org. So I'm wondering if anybody has any questions, you guys can, definitely give us a call. I would like to, also kind of pose a question for you guys. I'd like to know, how did it go? Did you do the budget? Were you able to utilize some of the information that I've given to you? Did you, maybe want one of the Personal Finance Made Easy guides? Did you print it out from the internet? Were you able to go to our website? Those are things I'd definitely like to hear. And if you go to the www.familycredit.org, you can actually talk to a counselor. We have online chats that you can do. So if you did want to maybe ask a couple questions, maybe you say, you know what, I saw Laura and I want one of those Personal Finance Made Easy guides. Or maybe, you know what, I have some other questions for her. You can always go onto our website, onto our chat, talk to one of the counselors. They'll be able to, either point you in the right direction. They might be able to answer your questions. Maybe you just need help with your credit or your debt. If you need help with your debt, that is definitely something that we can help with. So don't be afraid to give us a call. And of course, we're always there to answer any questions that you guys might have as well. Again, I would like to kind of just reiterate too the different tools that I've used over the years. I know I started talking about how I did the budget binder. Now I do a combination of things. So I actually have what I call it's a bullet journal. It's basically a book of lists and book of different things that I keep track of. And that is what I use in order to track my expenses for my spending plan. I will list all of the ideas and stuff that I have for the beginning of the month. I'll say, you know what, I want to make sure that I only spend $75 on groceries this month. How am I going to do that? And so using that bullet journal and writing down all of the goals and all of my ideas for the month, I'll list all of that. And then as the month goes along, I'll track it. So I typically use the Money Lover app, and then once I'm using that app, it really helps me to be able to say, okay, how much did I spend on groceries? And I went over my budget. There's another great app called Shopping Basket Calculator. I use that every time I go to the grocery store. It's easier than a calculator. It has a little slider on it, and you can just slide it to whatever amount you want, and you can actually add in your taxes. So that way when you get to the grocery store at the end of you get to the checkout line, you know how much your budget is going to be for that because you know what the total is going to be. Typically, I'm actually under budget. If I set my budget at $40 for that particular week, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know what, I've got this. I'm like, usually a couple cents or even a couple dollars underneath it. Using tools like that will help you to stay on track and really just making sure that you're making those small steps in order for you to be able to really reach your goals. So again, I would like to just show you, the Personal Finance Made Easy guide. This is, one of the tools that I'm saying that would be a really great thing for you guys to look into if you want. Again, you can also call us. This is a live call-in show, so you're always welcome to give us a call. But my time's coming to a close here pretty soon. So if you do have any questions, you can always call our counselors. The phone number to reach them is 800-994-3328. And, the website, is familycredit.org. So, again, I would like to really thank, CAN TV for allowing me to come here and talk to you guys. I think that budget counseling and spending plan counseling is a really great opportunity to spread the word and to really get it out because I think everybody's finances are important and yours are too. So, thank you, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.